So, Mimi, please tell me about yourself. Where are you from?
I was born in, uh, I don't know if it was still called Winterford Junction, but we call it Chesapeake, West Virginia. And the house, I was born at home in the house that my mother and daddy lived in. Other than that, I don't remember much about being born. I know who brought me into the world was Dr. Souleret, and I grew up going to Dr. Souleret. He was my doctor for a long time. And in fact, I went to school in high school with his daughter Betsy. And all I know is that I was born in the house that mother lived in until she died, and then she had the house taken down.
So, are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest of four.
Tell me about them.
Okay, Jackie, my sister, was the oldest, and Jackie was through high school before I entered first grade.
So, what year was she born? Do you know?
In the 20s,
She was,
1920s sometime.
so she was in, you said high school when you were born?
No, but before I entered first grade,
Oh, okay.
she was in high school.
All right.
She graduated from East Bank High School, as far as I know, because I didn't I didn't know much about them when I was little.
Right.
And Jackie went after she graduated from East Bank High School. She went to Charleston Commerce of Business, I think that's what it was called, and she rode the bus to Charleston, and that's where she got, I guess, more of her education after high school. And then she was employed by, I think it's called Winterford Collieries. It was up the creek. That was the coal company, and they had a store, company store, and Jackie, that's where she worked. I don't know how many years Jackie worked up there.
Okay.
She and Merle went to high school together, and Merle worked across the river at the other coal company, and that's, of course, later on, Jackie and Merle got married down in Charleston, and I can't tell you what church because I don't remember.
Okay.
Uh,
Talk about
well,
your other siblings.
okay, well, let me finish about Jackie.
Oh, okay.
Jackie worked, as far as I know, it had to be a long, long time. I mean, many years. And later she resigned and went down in Charleston where they wanted her to another company. And she worked for them until she told them she was going to retire because she was involved in Eastern Star and White Shrine. These were all related to Eastern Star. White Shrine, there was another one that was related to them too. And Merle, of course, he was in Eastern Star. Merle was a Mason, her husband, and he also was in White Shrine. And I can't think of the other one that was related to him because they were in all of those that were related to each other. And later, when Jackie installation day, that would be install officers, Jackie would, I was already out here in Virginia, and she would have mother call me and say, could I come home and play for for all the installations, which I did. I'd go home as much as I could for them to install the officers. That was open to the public. Uh, Otherwise, it wasn't. I mean, you had to be a member to. It was like Eastern Star. You had to be a member, and White Shrine. You had to be a member, and I wish I could remember the other one because. And Jackie traveled with them to their, like they'd have their grand, I guess you could say their grand assemblies there, and then they would go to Supreme Assembly somewhere else in the States, and I know one time she went to Hawaii.
All right, well, let's focus more on you. I just want you to tell me who your siblings were, and we'll talk about their lives later. So finish telling me who the rest of your siblings are.
The other one is Jerry. Jerry graduated from East Bank High School also. She was a cheerleader.
How much older is she than you?
6 years older than me.
Okay.
And Jerry went to what was called, I know she attended Morse Harvey College 1 year, maybe and a half. And then Gene Spencer also went to East Bank High School. And when he came home from the Navy, Mother and his, Rosie, his sister, and myself took them to Ohio, and they got married to one of the churches out in one of the cities out there.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about your siblings later. So who else do you have? Is that it?
I don't have anybody else. Just those two. My brother, I wouldn't remember him anyway because he was born in the house where Mother and Daddy lived, but he died at birth. So
Was that before you were born or after you were born?
No, it was before I was born.
Okay, so he died at birth?
Yes.
And how much older would he have been than you?
2 years, I think.
So he was in between you and Jerry?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's everybody?
I don't have any more siblings.
So 2 sisters, 1 brother, and you.
That's it.
4 of you. Okay, so what were your mom and dad's names?
My mother's name was Virginia Adeline Sampson. 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 Daddy was Claude Thomas Thornton.
Okay. Do you know their parents' names?
I know my mother's parents' names.
Okay.
I think I do. Was Aletha Sampson, and I don't know her maiden name. And General Marion Francis Sampson was my grandfather.
Did you know them? Did you meet them as a child?
I was very small. I was 6 years old when Granddaddy passed away, and my grandmother lived 2 months after that.
Okay. And were they from that area, or had they moved there, or do you know?
Well, Mother and Daddy, I understand they lived up Winifred. I have no recollection of all that. And then finally, in a little brown house, it was sort of on the hill before the West Virginia Turnpike came and took everything off of the hill there in Chesapeake. That's where they lived, and Mother and Daddy were the ones that helped them stay there.
Okay. So that was your mom's parents?
My mom's parents.
What do you know about your other grandparents?
I didn't know either one of them. My grandmother passed away before I was born, and Daddy had her buried. It's out on Turkey Creek. It's after you leave Charleston, it would be down that way before you even get near Huntington. It's that way. She's buried up on the hill. That's what I know. And
So, are those two are buried together, and the others two are buried together, but separately? They're not in the same place.
my daddy was a young teenager when she passed away, and he's the one that, with cousins' help, I think, helped bury her out there, because they also had a general store down there somewhere, and I don't know how many. He never talked about it, so I don't know who helped him bury her, but that's where she's buried, up on the hill. And the reason I know that is because, well, I'll tell you about that later maybe. Daddy's father left. He just left home, and Daddy never knew where he went to, so I can't tell you much about him.
So he disappeared.
He sure did disappear.
Oh, that's a shame. How old was your dad when he left, did you say?
Well, it was before my grandmother passed away.
Before she passed away?
Yes, because Daddy helped bring up his two brothers and a sister. And at one time he had tried to join the Seabees, Seabees, I think that's what they were called, but they didn't accept him because he was a teenager. And but he helped raise them with, I think, with the cousin that lived out there on Turkish Creek, is what I understand.
Okay.
I'm not sure of that at all.
All right.
But I do. Since then, there's a Thornton reunion in, it's outside of Martinsville, Virginia. And when we found out about it in the summertime, Daddy and I did attend several summers of finding out where his daddy was born, which was in Virginia. And Thornton, is it called Thornton's Gap? I believe, in Virginia. Anyway, up that way. And then I told Jerry and Jean about it. And the next summer they did come be with us, and we went to it was a church. They always had a great big reunion with all of the relatives. And anyway, not then, but before that, we have a picture of him with my grandmother, his dad, when they were married, younger. And I've got all the information I can from going to the reunions, finding out, and the cemeteries on Thornton, up there, Thornton Gap, or everywhere it is. They told us where they were, and we took pictures, and we still have pictures of some of would been his uncles, and then where his father was born, up there, and so forth.
But we don't know when he died, if he died, where he's buried.
Well, we've gotten information during the last 3 or 4 years. We think it is him, but I don't have any more. They haven't let me know anything else about it, that he ended up in Georgia. And we think now,
Okay.
because they're not sure about if he did get married, he just, anyway, if he did, he just lived with her, and that was it. But we don't know anything else about it yet.
Wow, okay. All right, so where did you live when you were born, and did you stay there your whole life, or did y'all move around?
Stayed there my whole life.
And that's the house that was at the railroad yard?
No,
Or something
no.
like that?
The main road on down from our house, the train came out of Winterford Holler because it was from the coal company, and it crossed the road as you went on the main road,
Okay.
and we sort of lived on it wasn't a hill, just the way the land was made, and Mama Selhammer and Nick lived in the house, the only house on our side of the road, and then it was a little distance from that. I think we owned between 5 and 8 acres or something like that. And what the train did, it went around us,
Okay.
and went to the coal tipple and unloaded its coal, and they loaded it on barges on the Kanawha River. That's the way they shipped the coal.
So your parents never moved from that house?
No,
The house you were born in is the house they lived in the rest of their life?
that's the ones we lived in the rest of our lives. Mother had the house taken down after when she passed away. Had the house taken down.
It was like in her will, you mean?
I have no idea if it was in her will, but it was taken down
Okay.
by Mother. Yes, that ever what. And one of the guys that I went to, I think he must have been a senior when I was a sophomore, but Bill Calvert was the engineering on the train, and Bill, I understand, is the one that helped take Mother's house down because we had gas lines. But anyway, it was I wasn't there. I was here in Virginia when they took it down. And they changed the road from where I was a little girl because they built the turnpike. And that's how come in Chesapeake, they took a lot of houses off of the hillside. It wasn't up too high, the hillside, but people built there, and they took all those to West Virginia Turnpike when they built there. So, but that's where Mother and Daddy always helped my grandparents, Mother's parents. Always, they were the ones in the family that did for them. And
So they lived real close?
well, I'm telling you where we lived, and then you go down into Chesapeake, what, a couple of miles, and then you turn and go off the roads and go on up to where they lived. So until they died.
Was that just a few miles, or was that a trip to go there?
No, it was just a few miles.
Okay. So your big passion in life has been music. So
Always has been.
Tell me how you started playing music. What was your interest? How did you get interested in playing, and how did you start, and how did you finally learn to play the piano so well?
Mother gave Jackie piano lessons and let her take them. I don't know who the teacher was. I have no idea because I wasn't allowed to go in the living room while Jackie had her lessons.
So y'all had a piano in your house?
It was a roller piano. One that had rollers on it that you could put the roller in and play on it.
Oh, okay. A player piano?
Yes.
Okay.
It was Jackie's piano.
Okay.
It was given
so
to
they had bought
Jackie.
that for Jackie?
I guess so. I have no idea. But Jackie played it, and the door was closed, and I sat in the corner of the dining room and would listen to her play. And I wasn't allowed in the living room at all. And after Jackie get through all her lessons and all, and go do what she wanted to do and everything, I'd go in and I'd ask my daddy. I'd say, "Lift me up on the piano bench," and he would. And I guess you could say I had listened to what she was playing, what the piano teacher taught her. I'd play exactly what she played, and that's why Mother would never let me go in because and Jackie would get so aggravated at me because I could play what she already was supposed to play. I wasn't very old. I
How old
was
were you?
between 3 and 4 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And-
Child prodigy.
But anyway, the first time, that had nothing to do with Jackie's lessons, but when she wasn't there, Daddy played the guitar once in a while. And I have it over at the house. It's wrapped up in the living room on top of my things. It wasn't what you say, an outstanding guitar, but I would just love. That was one of my things I wanted to do before I passed away, is redo his guitar. And
So it's an old guitar.
it's old, yes, yeah. And he'd whistle sometimes and all. And I know when I asked him, would he lift me up, put me on top of he lifted me up on the piano bench, and I'd say, "Whistle it again or hum it again or something," and he would. And that's the way I learned to play.
Well, that's cool. So
Uh,
as you got older, did you finally start taking piano lessons, or how did you get so good?
Mother asked the piano teacher, and I never saw her, said she couldn't help me because she said she wouldn't know what to do with me
Okay.
because of the way I played anyway.
Okay. So you learned somewhere. Where'd you learn it? In school?
No, I just would hear something and play it.
Okay. So did you play any music in school?
No, not really. No. I attended school when I was 6 years old, and no, I didn't play.
Well, I mean through all school, high school, college. What'd you do?
Well, I broke my arm. That was before my granddaddy died and my grandmother. We went to visit. I always went with Mother and visited. It was up in East Bank, and the lady lived on the second floor, and you climb your steps and go up, And the other lady that was there, a visitor, had a little boy. Now, I think he was just a little older than me, I'm not sure. And we were jumping steps. And we got upside, and I said, "No, I don't want to jump anymore," because I looked down and it was right far. And the little boy said, "Oh, come on, you can do it." Well, I looked down off of there. It was like a little platform that before you went into the house. And he pushed me. Anyway, I fell and broke my arm. Of course, Mother heard me scream and came running. And I had a compound fracture of the right arm. I still have my scars right there. And the bone came through. And Mother came and picked me up off the ground, and they wrapped me in my arm in a towel. And Mother stopped and told Daddy where she was taking me to the hospital on our way. And I had a wonderful doctor that operated on my arm and saved me. And
Go ahead. Something's humming, and I don't know what it is. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Anyway, Dr. Swartz operated, and I had to go to school that way. So I had to learn to my first grade at least, to sign my name and everything with the left hand and all that. It was very hard to do that. But anyway, that's where I broke my arm. And my cousin, one of them, always, when he came home from service or something, always went to see Granddaddy. He was one of the good cousins. And he told he wasn't supposed to tell him that I broke my arm, because he got real, real upset. And I can't tell you what Granddaddy died of, but they had him almost tied to the bed almost before he would get real out of sorts. And I know, and then Mother said, "Oh my," she and Daddy said, "Well, you have to take her down to see him, because he knows now that Pat broke her arm, and he's not going to have it any other way unless you take her." So Mother took me down, because I knew he was real ill. Don't know what from. It doesn't sound good ever what it was. I would say it would be bordered on maybe Alzheimer's or something, because he was very bad. And I know I went in and I said, "Granddaddy, I'm here," and I held up my arm and showed it to him and everything, and that satisfied him, and told him I loved him. And I was just, like I said, 6 years old. That's all. And of course, they didn't live very much longer. And that's where I was on that. I'd play as often as I could on the piano at home. I loved that piano. And anyway, I could play anything I heard. It didn't make any difference what music it was. I could play it. And like I said, Jackie got married and so forth, and then they had another house, and she sold the piano. And I wish she had left it, but she didn't. It was her piano. And later on, I understand she bought another piano, which wasn't worth a hoot. And anyway, that's where it was. It was supposed to be a good piano, and it wasn't.
She sold the piano, so you were without a piano at what age?
I didn't get a piano until I was in high school.
So what year did she sell? How old were you when she sold that piano?
I was young. I was just probably in elementary school.
So you went years without a piano to play?
Yep, I did. And then some lady, it was advertised in the paper, I think, she wanted to sell her piano because her daughter didn't want to take lessons anymore, and she wouldn't have anything to do with the piano, so I understand. And Mother and Daddy bought the piano. And that's the one I have over at the house now.
Story. And they bought that for you?
Yes. And I've had it until, well, I still had it when I came.
You still have it?
Yes.
Okay.
It needs to be tuned because it got cold where I had to leave the crack in the, for the kiddies to come back and forth from the back porch. And you don't ever sit a piano on an outside wall or anything. And it really needs to be tuned. And I would have a warmer put in it so it would stay tuned, in other words. Because when I taught school, we had a piano tuner, and the pianos were moved around a lot too, and they were put on dollies, in school. But we would have some pianos that were so out of tune, and what Harry did, he would put what you're supposed to put inside of them, and it kept them dry and kept them in tune. I mean, he had to tune them, of course, but he always did that for me. And
okay, let me stop you right there because we're about to run out, and I'll get you to tell me some more in just a second.